if you really want to fight the system, like if you don't want to, if you're fine with the system, if you like how the US is treating you, all these different things, then that's one, that's your problem. But if you want to like actually change things, and and you have a little bit of revolutionary in you, then you need to go Bitcoin.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ask a Bitcoiner 21 Questions. I'm your host, Saida Gomez. Today, I'm joined by the hilarious and fun Josh A. Josh
Hello.
Vazzz, who is a Bitcoin educator based in Botswana. And before we get to the interview, I just want to say a special shout out and a thank you to all of the viewers who are actively doing the treasure hunt, trying to find the 12-word seed phrase that's peppered throughout the episode. And also, thank you so much for your feedback. And we are working behind the scenes to make slight adjustments so that this fun little, thing that we're doing is more human friendly and less machine friendly. So thank you once again. Josh, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Saida?
I'm good. As I was telling you before we hit record, I was listening to Soca to just liven my spirits, in this sort of like transitioning into fall weather.
Yeah, no, here we're going into summer, so it was a hot one today, but I was missing the heat, in all honesty. It was cold for too long here in Botswana, so.
So your journey didn't start off in Botswana. I mentioned in the intro that you're a Bitcoin educator. Can you give us
Yes.
your backstory, like your Bitcoin origin story, and how you ended up in Botswana?
Okay, so I discovered Bitcoin here in Botswana actually, and I think it was Botswana that made me more willing to take risks. And I thank Botswana for that. I took a job my first year that I was here in Botswana, but I was getting paid a lot less than I was making in the US, and I was getting worked a lot more, like a lot more. Weekends, I mean, you name it. It was whenever they wanted you in the office, you had to be there. There was absolutely no separation of work life and personal life. So I think I saw the amount of risks that they were taking in that business and
Mhm.
that other businesses have to take here, and they were still making it somehow, and I was like, I think we a lot of times we're just like so concerned about risk. So my that's kind Botswana launched me into my Bitcoin journey. I had heard about Bitcoin in the US, but I was a little too tepid, like that's something I didn't like, that what corporate US was doing to me. It was making me like, I was in a cubicle and I was an analyst, and it was just making me into this, like, I felt like it was making me into this little nerd, like
Your
under the
fingers are
light.
going back to that
Yeah,
time
yeah,
of full trauma.
yeah, I'm having flashbacks. I was even getting carpal tunnel, all the stuff, that you get from, being in that kind of environment, but also very averse, like I would see like some of my older colleagues, and they were just so scared of everything, like it was like, let's go to Mexico, and they're like, no, what's gonna happen in Mexico, and like, or it could be anywhere, let's go to
Yeah.
Trinidad, and they're like, no, I heard there was a horrible hurricane and you're like, well,
The women
yeah,
bite
but
in Trinidad.
was that,
I said the women bite in Trinidad.
yeah, something like that, something, whatever it is, and you're like, and it just, uh I didn't like what it was doing to me, but here, like, I just understood you have to take risks at some point in life. And my brother had told me about Bitcoin a while back. I had dismissed it because when I looked into it, I was like, this thing is a humongous danger to banks and central banks, and not just one. I mean, it's enough to pick a fight against one big bank. Say you were going up against Barclays or something like that. Already, I would say most people would lose that fight. Uh, or most projects, if you were just whatever it is that you were trying to do to disrupt them. But now you're picking a fight with all the banks at the same time in every single country in the world. And not just that, but because you're picking a fight with central banks, you're picking a fight with all the governments of every single country in all the world. So I was just certain that something was gonna happen. Like all good things, normally they die young. Only the good die young. Um, they were gonna find a way to sabotage it. They were gonna kill
Yeah.
somebody, do something to try to
Yeah, or
just
hijack
kill
it.
it,
Yeah.
hijack it somehow. And so I gave myself a timeline. I said, if this thing is around in the next 2 or 3 years, then I'm jumping in full on, because that means then they can't stop it, because this thing is anybody can see it's a humongous uh, threat,
Yeah.
to their system, to the current system. So when I saw they couldn't stop it, then it's like, okay, then this thing it's just gonna keep. It's anti-fragile, right? Is the word. It's if you try to kill it, it just gets stronger. So,
What, in your opinion, makes Bitcoin anti-fragile?
for me, it's of course a decentralized aspect of it, where it's not. You can't just kill one head, one group of people, or uh, censor one country even. It's just
Yeah.
all over the place. So, with nodes at, I think last time I checked was like 23,000. And
Yeah,
those are the ones that you can see,
exactly.
because, the ones that are behind Tor and things like that. It's probably a lot more than that. It's probably double that at least. So that's one aspect, it's you can't squash it because wherever the internet is, there'll be a version of it probably in that country, at least
Mm.
one, and if not, you just get it from another country. So you'd have to destroy the truth, the ledger. You would have to get rid of 40,000, nodes running, and it's most of the people that run them. They're freedom fighters, so it's not like they're running it lightly or they don't know what they're doing. They absolutely know what they're doing, and they're trying to keep the network up. So um so that's one blaring aspect, the decentralized aspect of it. And anybody that says, what's backing Bitcoin, I argue it's computing power. AI is finding out very, very fast, like OpenAI, one of the biggest things they need and they just gobble up is compute, right?
Yeah.
And so that is so valuable. And
Yeah.
for the Bitcoin network, if somebody can't see that compute is valuable, then they're just not up with the times. In all honesty, like they don't know what they're talking about. But compute is there, and it is the most secure network in the world because of the hash rate. We just broke zeta hashes, which is insane. you know
It
All
is.
time highs. Yeah.
It is. And I like the comparison that you make with AI, because I think that so we're going to go into Bitcoin education and some of the things that you do.
Hmm.
And you'll tell me if you hear similar things, but from new people who talk about the compute power, I think, and they compare like Bitcoin, or well, they say crypto with AI. I think one
Hmm.
thing they fail to realize is that OpenAI, for example, is but one company, and it
Hmm.
is impossible for that one company. Like, could you imagine, their accounts payable department trying to pay out like just tiny, like fractions of pennies to people all over the world who've got
Yeah.
like from a bidax plugged in, with large mining companies, of course, you can like make arrangements and stuff, but
Hmm.
still, how do you pay someone in Ethiopia, for example, through traditional banking rails so that it's
Hmm.
profitable? And then if those are your expenses, you're paying people who are based in Ethiopia. maybe China, you know, like in Kenya, like the Gridless project, for example, all over the US.
Hmm.
How much are you going to have to charge your customers on the top
Hmm.
end? What is your like incoming revenue going to be profitable? And so the distinction with Bitcoin is that, you know, like it doesn't work like that. You know, no one controls it. The Coinbase transaction is awarded to the miner who, finds the block. Like that's it. Code looks after everything.
Yeah, and I think like the first thing that a lot of these companies would do would create their own crap coin,
Yeah.
and but they would quickly see it holds no value like in the long term, like it might spike a bit at the beginning and then it just dies the normal shit coin type thing, like where it just goes down. So now you're trying to pay out with that and they're like
Yeah.
nobody wants it, so
So, so tell us more about your educational initiatives in Botswana. How did it come about?
well, it was after one of the Cape Town adopting Bitcoin conferences that I really like started pushing hard. It was 2022, I believe, my first one. So I went and I was doing some work, mainly in Zimbabwe, before that. And I was focusing on Zimbabwe because they needed more than us, in all honesty. I mean, yeah, there's gonna be different grades of need in every country, but like
Yeah.
as a general picture, Zimbabwe is, their currency is horrible and they keep on trying these different things. Now they have the ZIG and it's supposedly backed by gold and it's going to crap again and
The
people are
ZiG, is
just
that paper currency or is it like a digital currency?
I think it's paper. I don't think they're that advanced to roll out a digital currency yet. And I don't think people even have like proper access to the internet and
Yeah, okay.
and phones. So I highly doubt it's a digital currency, but nobody uses it. That's the thing. Like they avoid it like at all costs. They'll take anything. And it was surprising to me because I went to Vic Falls not too long ago because a friend of mine was in Botswana and we just crossed over to the border to Victoria Falls and there was a vendor there and I was like, "Do you accept Bitcoin?" And she was like, "Yeah." Like it's like anything except the Zig. Like, give me Bitcoin, give me dollars, give me like yeah, anything like, but except the local currency. So I was active there, and then after going and seeing the projects like Bitcoin Akasi and seeing Bitcoin Bitsand and just the level of adoption. I tried out paying at Pick and Pay, and it worked, of course. Um, and and I was just a little bit jealous. I'm like, well, we should have a little bit of that, like at least to some like a higher degree than it is right now, which is adoption is almost close to zero. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I got to do some work over in this country that I love, and it's my wife's country, and two of my boys were born here, so I'm like, yeah, I have to do something here, and I think it's also that aspect of not I mean Bitcoiners we are kind of a little paranoid sometimes, like we don't want
Sometimes.
a lot, you know, and I had some of that, but like at some point you just have to be like, screw it, like if this, if you, because if not, you're just like, you're gonna drive yourself insane and you're also gonna be scared all the time and you're gonna live in fear all the time, so you just have to at some point say screw it. This is for the benefit of other people. If something happens to me, well, in the same way I could die in a car accident for nothing,
Oh,
because a drunk driver hit me, so like,
the big, yeah. I'm touching
it's like,
item.
yeah, it's like the same, but at least like if something does happen, then at least there was a purpose for that, and you were fighting for something good. Because I do consider
Mm.
Bitcoiners activists, like I don't downplay the role of Bitcoiners, especially in countries like Zimbabwe, for example, in countries where there's a lot of restriction, even Nigeria, Kenya, they shot down student protesters not too
Yeah.
long ago,
Yeah.
and in a lot of these countries, they are leveraging Bitcoin, like even the organizers and human right activists, HRF, gets
Yeah.
funds to keep people using Bitcoin. So I saw that vision for Botswana, and it was more of a Botswana needs this, and somebody has to tell them. There was another lady that she was the spearhead, Alakalani, but then she kind of stepped down for some time. Different personal reasons, but there was pretty much nobody doing any Bitcoin education in the whole country, and I'm like, this is too big of a country. I
Mm.
mean, it is only like 2.5 million people, but still, there should be at least one good Bitcoin educator, So I'm like, if there's nobody else stepping up to the plate, I gotta put on my working boots and go to work. And I also kind of was retired from Bitcoin, so you can only do so much with your time before you start getting in trouble. So 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 you have to, like, for your own mental health and your
Yeah.
own sanity, you have to put your hands to work on something. So I'm like, okay, this is what I like, this is what is good
And
for.
you also talked about before when we spoke remittances.
Mhm,
And remittances, well, Bitcoin remittances over the Lightning Network. How is that
mhm.
looking, or how's that shaping out right now in Botswana?
In Botswana, I wish people used it more. I think there's just this whole stereotype of it's hard, like
Yeah.
it's hard to send, like, or it's hard to understand, and how is the other person gonna cash out, on the other side. um and there isn't a ton of merchants that accept it directly because of the repression of the government. um
Ah.
they don't like it, so like um it's hard for merchants to like put up a Bitcoin sign and say, we accept Bitcoin and things like that. I'm sure they might get a target on their back if they do something like that. So but we've found ways around it. Like the easiest way, if somebody needs to buy things, they still have to unfortunately go back to either Eco Cash, or which is like their mobile money over there, or US dollars. But there's plenty of people that want it. Like, there's like the appetite for it there is very, very high. So you can normally sell it at a 5% premium.
Okay.
So instead of somebody, at least a 5% premium, but so if somebody is paying Mukuru 13% to send money, I'm telling them, send it and you'll make 5%. And we've even been trying this also with Cubans that are living here in Botswana, and they've been like so impressed that they've been using that bot that's on Telegram. There's like this lightning bot that
Oh,
has
okay.
escrow built in to it. I forgot what the name of the bot is, um
Yeah, tell me after
but
so I can check it out. I haven't heard of it. So tell me more about the position of the government in Botswana and the risks to merchants. And then, like, obviously, I'm going to ask, how are you safe in educating people about Bitcoin? Because you mentioned having a
yeah.
target on your back, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it's just in my mind, like the paranoid the paranoid Bitcoiner, you know. I think I do go back to that, because I think, I mean, they would have kicked me out already if I was like a real threat. to them because I have a website, I'm doing live, live education in different places. So I mean, I'm easy to find. But I was wary, especially at the beginning, because there is some legislation. It's the VASP, the Virtual Asset Service Provider
Hmm.
um regulation, but it's more for buying and selling Bitcoin. It's not for it's more if you want to be an exchange, a proper exchange. But in terms of educating, I take my lead a lot from Oaken. This Oaken is right next door, right? He's in
Oh yeah,
Namibia,
in Namibia,
and
just to the north, right?
it's actually right to the west, right over
To the
to the
west.
west. Yeah,
Yeah,
of
that's
us.
the north. I was referring to the west. No, I'm joking.
So they're right there. But I mean, they're also to your point. They also have a border with us in the north. So you are correct. You are very
I'm not okay. I
correct.
don't totally suck at
we
geography.
we we even had a little war because there's a little like strip of Namibia that goes across like the top part of the northern part of Bots, and there was even a war, like a small war between Namibia and Botswana for a particular island that's like
Mm.
full of wildlife. So so yeah. So I go down tangents all the time, so I have to try to come back, bring it back, Josh. So again, I take my lead from him a lot on what he's doing there because our legislation was almost like a copy of Namibia's. So
Mm-mm.
because they came out first and then uh, it seems like Botswana pretty much almost copied, that legislation and implemented it here. Um, so I ask him a lot of questions, because he's onboarding merchants, he's selling sats,
Wolf
he's
Shack.
doing all these
Yeah.
things, with easy sats, and so it gives me a lot of comfort because he's like, no, dude, like you're fine. You're 100% fine. First of all, you can even sell sats up to a certain amount. You have to check, talk to your regulator and everything. But
Yeah.
normally, if it's less than, $500, something like that, you're off the radar of the regulator, right? So even in that terms, but he's like in terms of onboarding merchants, he's like you're 100% in the clear. You can onboard as much as you want. Because it's not like you're saying replace, you can only take Bitcoin. It's just an alternative form of payment. And you're not calling it legal tender or anything like that. So it's I mean there's an exchange here which also makes me feel a lot better, because what I feel like I'm doing in all honesty is I'm helping the government and I'm helping um even Yellow Card itself, the exchange, because I'm educating people on what
Yeah.
they're actually buying. Like they're not doing any classes on what is Bitcoin or even crypto for Pete's sake. Like there's no education. It's just like, here, buy this and knock yourself out. If you trade it for a meme coin, good
Oh
luck
dear.
with that.
Yeah.
Like um so there's zero education around it. So I feel like I'm doing both the government, mainly the government, because the government is the one that's supposed to be looking out more for the consumer. Um, but I'm also doing the work of that Yellow Card should be doing as well.
But in like Botswana or Namibia or Zimbabwe, do you think that they're influenced by how things are working out in the US, or are they really just focused on their local needs?
No, it's definitely influenced by the West. I feel like in Botswana specifically, speaking, like the second that Trump came out and started talking positively about Bitcoin, you should have seen how many calls I got. Like nobody was paying
Really?
attention. Yeah, they invited me to the radio. I did like eight shows in a row on the radio, and then things that they had a revamp and they had to check, uh, you know, that it was profitable, that all of their content was profitable. And this one was, I mean, we weren't bringing in any money. We were just educating people, so it got cut. But we did a full 8 shows on just Bitcoin education. I was using curriculum from Trezor. I was using Bitcoin diploma curriculum, and just step by step, going through what is money,
Yeah.
everything from the beginning. So, and that, I think it's very much because Trump has embraced Bitcoin, because I was getting zero calls before that. Like, nobody wanted to know about it, nobody wanted to touch it, and then all of a sudden you have one politician, I mean one president, he is a president,
Yeah.
and what I tell people is, this is where you can see how anti-fragile Bitcoin is. Go back and see what Trump had to say about Bitcoin in his
Yep.
first term.
Yep.
And it was nothing good. He wanted to protect the hegemony of the US dollar at all costs, and everything he said was Bitcoin is crap, the dollar is king. Like, every time
Yep.
they would ask him, it was Bitcoin is crap, Bitcoin is a Ponzi, whatever he could do to discredit it. In those 4 years where he wasn't president, he realized we cannot stop this thing. He probably also was listening to his sons, um, you know, and his daughter, even probably Ivanka, was probably telling him, like, this thing is unstoppable. Like, we either join it or we sink. Like, there's no in between. And Eric Trump has even allured to the fact that some of their bank accounts and things were maybe
Yeah.
frozen at some points and stuff like
Yeah.
that, because of the of just politics. So for them to do that big of a 180, um it's even more of a story to me, of how anti-fragile and how unstoppable it is. And there's a lot of Bitcoiners that don't like that institutions are coming in, that governments are coming in,
Mm.
and it is frightening, because they're accumulating a ton of Bitcoin, right? Very, very quickly. And if this trend continues, it won't be the individuals that have the majority of the Bitcoin. The institutions and governments are going to have the majority of it, if this trend continues. But it's still the we still have individuals still control like 76% of Bitcoin, which is crazy to me. Like, I've never seen in the world of finance an asset that's done this well, because when you look at the scale, it's unfathomable. It's like 163 million%, or like, it's just so many millions that you're just like, it's
You stop
it's
counting the
over.
zeros. Yeah.
Yeah, it's over 100 million%. Like, when have you ever heard of anything giving you 1 million% return? And this is over 100 million. So if something was doing that good, they would normally moat it. There would be like a million barriers to entry for the individual. The institutions and the governments would come and take the lion's share of all the profits and everything that's good, and they would throw us a bone at the end, to the retail, and just be like, "Hey, you can come in now. We're done
Yeah.
eating." Like, and so that's normally how the story goes. And the fact that the individuals still have 76% last time I checked, of Bitcoin, is huge. I think it's very telling, of the different nature and different dynamics that Bitcoin has for giving individual sovereignty.
Yeah. Um, Back to Trump, do you think that uh, Bitcoin's anti-fragility is the only reason he, in the role of president, not the individual, but in the role of president, would adopt it? Like, I kind of believe that Tether has something to do with this as well. and
Yes,
the
yes, yes.
ability to just reinforce or even ramp up, dollar hegemony around the world.
Yes, yes. No, stable coins is a pure play on dollar hegemony. Like I don't see, how that it, but I do see it. That's the thing, is that anything that tries to attack Bitcoin or tries
Yeah.
to it ends up helping it in a way, like maybe not directly but indirectly. So with what I see Trump doing, yeah, he's gonna push main firstly for stable coins. Yeah, he's talking about Bitcoin and stuff, but the Genius Act was top
Stable
priority.
coins. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was top of the list before. They haven't bought one Bitcoin. I mean, they have. I know the U.S. is kind of broke, but they have enough to buy
Kind of
a
broke.
thousand Bitcoin. Like for Pete's sake, buy something. But so like like there's just not no political will there. But the political will is behind stablecoins, and for a reason. Like I call stablecoins the only stablecoin I don't think falls in this category is dollar on chain but it's a very small stablecoin from guys in
Never heard of it.
Argentina.
Yeah.
But it's backed 100, like they tried to stay true to the principles of Bitcoin, so it's backed 100% by Bitcoin, like
Oh,
10
okay.
to 1. So then, if you're doing that, if you're backing, uh, just this placeholder, which is what the dollar is becoming, right? It's just this reference point. So if you're just getting to that reference point, but you're getting to it with 100% Bitcoin, and over collateralized, like 10 to 1 at least, um, then you really relegate the U.S. dollar to a number, right? To just this thing. So, but that's only dollar on chain. Everything else, if they're buying treasuries, if they have dollars in banks, all these other ways that they maintain the peg of the stable coin, then it just helps the U.S. hegemony. I call them quasi CBDCs. If you want to be part of the system, use you know use stable coins on purpose a lot. Like that's the system. If you want to escape it, then you have to stick to Bitcoin because like in Zimbabwe, like I was just talking about this on the group today, is that it's unfortunate that sometimes the countries that are most affected
Yeah.
by US sanctions and things like that, they're the ones that have to use the dollar the most. you know like, so you're drinking your own poison. You're like, these guys are killing us, but we have to use their
Yeah.
currency. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have
Such a good
another
point.
option. So I mean, in Venezuela it's the same thing, and in Argentina, same thing. So um so I it's more of a, like, trying to change the mindset of people too, of
Mhm.
like, if you really want to fight the system, like, if you don't want to, if you're fine with the system, if you like how the US is treating you, all these different things, then that's one, that's your problem. But if you want to, like, actually change things, and and you have a little bit of revolutionary in you, then you need to go Bitcoin. Like, there's no,
Yeah. To any new person who is watching you on this episode, can you lead them with maybe three tips in terms of just approaching how to think about Bitcoin?
yeah, sure. So first of all, forget everything they've taught you about money. Well, it's precious little, right? They don't teach us much about money. That's the first thing I tell people, is like, how many of you guys had a class, about money in school? Even if it was a expensive private school or whatnot. Like, they don't teach us about money. So first of all, study study what money is, because we work for this all the
Mhm.
time. We dedicate our lives to trying to earn this thing called money, and they don't even tell us where it comes from. They don't tell us what the rules are. they just tell us chase this thing, and they put a little carrot in front of us, and we have to chase that our whole lives, you know. So I would say that's the number one thing I would say
Yeah.
is even if you don't start with Bitcoin, study what money is, and try to assess if the current system is one that you want to be part of, right? We have the U.S. with $37 trillion in debt. Their interest expense, not doing any damage to the principal of those $37 trillion, just paying off interest is already surpassed the entire defense spending of the country, and this is a very militant country, right, where they spend billions and billions of dollars on military.
Yeah.
So when you know, if you think that system is sustainable of debt and of money printing and everything, then continue on with your life. You know, all is well. And if you're happy, you know, you're not discontented with the system, then maybe Bitcoin's not for you. But if you look into that and you say, this doesn't sound fair, and it sounds like the game is rigged, and it doesn't sound like it's even sustainable, then start studying Bitcoin. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the number one tip. What is money? And then start
Hmm.
studying Bitcoin. And then a third tip to close us out.
Okay. Um, I tell people, look into I mean, first of all, learn self custody. It's not as nearly as difficult as what you would probably imagine at the beginning. What I
Yeah.
tell people is, if you can write down 12 to 24 English words without any cameras around and without taking a picture of it, no digital representation, if you can do that right, I mean, and everybody will say yes, right? Like, can you write down 12 words on a piece of paper? Yes. Then you can self custody, right? That's the only way to really
Hmm.
own Bitcoin and to really have some sovereignty in your life. But yeah, focus on self custody, and and you do have to self learn. We as us educators, we can't spoon food every single part of Bitcoin information to our students as much as we would like to, but there's only so much
Yeah.
time and energy in a day. So there has to be some element of self learning, and also don't get caught up with all the technicalities, because
Yeah.
uh what I tell people is, how many of you understand exactly what goes on with WhatsApp, the app, when, you know, before you use it? Like, do you understand all the code behind it and how messages travel over the internet and
And
everything?
how
And
it's encrypted. Yeah.
it's encrypted and all these different things, and everybody's gonna say no. And I'm like, well, I don't, to be honest. I mean, I studied computer science, but encryption is a whole other field of computer science that I didn't even touch, and I
Yeah.
don't understand it either. So, but I use it on a daily basis. So it's the same thing with Bitcoin. Don't get caught up with all the technicalities. If you can use it and you see it works, then just use it like you use any other app.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Josh. And I'm going to take the opportunity, because you mentioned the 12 to 24 words, just to
Mhm.
remind everyone that throughout the episodes, so for a while, with Orange Manufacturing Group, we were just, I would give him the seed words and he would hide the text throughout the video. The only issue with that is that it's easy for bots just to like scan and, recover them. So now, when you watch, there will be the seed words. You can still win the 21,000 sats. The only difference is that instead of writing the word itself, it'll be a riddle. And so when this episode airs, you'll see like little riddles coming up, and we'll probably publish like 10 or 11 words here in the video. And then the other, so one or two will be on X or on Substack or Noster. And then there will probably be a passphrase added as well. And that word itself won't be part of the BIP 39 list. It'll be a completely different word that's been in an episode. So I'm
Okay.
piggybacking, taking the opportunity to share the new rules with everyone.
Perfect. Perfect. I like the incentives. Incentives drive behavior.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Josh, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Can you remind everyone where they can find you?
Yes, the easiest way is just go to our website. It's Ola Bitcoin. That's OLA Bitcoin.org. So all my socials are on there, my phone number is on there. Yeah, everything. So you can join the
Everything.
WhatsApp group if you want to join us here in
And troll you
Botswana.
about stablecoins. I'm
Yes, yes.
joking.
Please do. I love it. I love talking about stablecoins. No, but yeah. Yeah, you can find everything on the website. It's the easiest way.
Awesome. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Saida.